is Vusipebe and welcome to Women's News Beat. We'll be taking you on from right now around 12 up to 1 p.m. when you get the next news bulletin. Women's News Beat is your front row seat to the topical issues that impact us as women. Well, every issue impacts us, but it's those chosen issues that we find appealing to us and that we feel that we should be able to share with you and give you our comments and opinions on. And I'm here with three lovely ladies this afternoon. I'll ask them to introduce themselves, starting with Umanyati Kunjani.
Ngiyaphila.
Kumeleni namuhla. I know you start off this nice and quiet and then 10 minutes later
the week has been exciting, seeing as we're in the Women's Month.
Great, I can't wait to hear everything you've been doing or that you have planned.
Oh yeah, exciting things in store.
Machuma, how are you?
I'm good.
Yeah, Pila, how's been your week?
Tiring, but
progressive,
yeah, definitely.
Wonderful. And we have the distinguished
our
very own pride. Of course, I know, I can say our pride because I'm saying Umvenda by association.
Oh,
my.
You married well. You married well.
Dr. Delta Ndou. Congratulations and welcome. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. I've been waiting to tap into your brain, pick your brain about a lot of issues, but you are such a busy woman. And ukuthi namhla sikutholile is a miracle. So I'm very grateful and thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, so much, but it's really a pleasure to finally be on your platform.
Wonderful. So, listeners, you also have the opportunity to share with us your opinions and get in touch with us right here on Sky's Metro FM on the numbers 07744 60100. That's 07744 60100. You can also call us direct on the landline on 0292 262850. That's 0292 262850. You can also text on that cell phone number. Send us a voice note. We'll try and play it on air. So any means possible, please do get in touch with us and tell us what you think about the issues. As a number of us may know, some might not, we are in the Women's Month. March is Women's Month. This is the time taken aside to look at issues that impact and affect women and focus on them exclusively. This is after in 1975 the United Nations decided to set aside a day to commemorate women and also to look at issues that impact them. So we will be focusing on that this whole month, every week on Women's News Beat. And to start off with this week, we were encouraged by our lovely sister Smo. Can't we maybe look at feminism and what it is, because it's so misunderstood. And Mina personally, I've always said to people, Ubusu feminist. No, I'm not a feminist. But then again, maybe I am.
But that's what's to be.
Exactly. So I not know people who know.
Yeah.
Someone like who Delta. I know Delta is an outspoken feminist. So I need her to explain to us feminism. Feminist, and why is it so misunderstood, and why is the world blaming everything to do with women empowerment on I'm a feminist now, Beijing, you know?
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. Okay, you've asked a lot of questions.
Yeah.
So I think to understand feminism, you first have to understand the patriarchy. Right? So patriarchy is a social system. And it's a social system where men hold positions of power, decision making. They are the leaders. They make decisions for everybody about everything.
Okay.
So that's that system, right? It's from the Greek word and then translate to Latin. It means ruled by the fathers. So the fathers ruling, right? And it's not an unfamiliar concept for us. But we live in a patriarchal society. Yeah. It's what is the norm. So that's the system. It's a social system. And when we say it's a social system, a system is how something is organized. Someone sits down somewhere and decides, so. Now, you have your system of how you clean your house. Maybe you decide to start on Wutanyala Pandle, city of Randing, versus Skalang a sitting room. Or maybe to Skalang a kitchen because Melo pay. But either way, you have a system, you create a system. So because patriarchy is a social system, what it does is it tells all of us what our roles are. What you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to do it, who you're supposed to be in order to be a proper woman, a proper, man. So it organizes our lives, it organizes our choices, it delineates what we can do, it tells us what's taboo, this system. And because we've had it for so long, it's normal. If you look, maybe because at least you're women, if you look at the choices you make when you go grocery shopping, in the end, even if there's sunlight, what will you buy?
In the end.
Because that's the norm. You internalize this is the normal thing to do. It's a system, you've carried it into your own household. So patriarchy is a social system. Now feminism is an ideology. It's also a social movement. It's centered around the idea of social justice. So it's saying we've got this social system. We don't really know who created it, but what we know is that it ignores the needs of women. It doesn't really include the viewpoints of women. So we are a system that's saying we need to fix this system of patriarchy because it's an unfair system. If the population of Zimbabwe is 52% female and you don't have women making decisions, that's not fair. If you have a system that says, oh, okay, you can marry children that are 13 years old, that's not fair. If you have a system that says, oh, well, if a husband dies, the wife can't inherit land, that's not fair. So at the center of it are questions of justice, of fairness, of equality. So feminism is about dismantling that system. It's about scrutinizing it. It's about making women's voices heard. So it's not fighting men.
Thank you.
Because men themselves are also victims of patriarchy. In the sense that patriarchy tells men what a man is supposed to be.
Yeah.
Even when they don't want to be that.
Yes.
Or don't feel like being that.
Exactly. So a man is supposed to be the provider. I was actually laughing recently with some colleagues to say, I can't imagine waking up every morning and sevenza at the end of the month ngithole imali yami and then omnye umntwana uzondela endlini ukuthi ngithenga ihembe engakhuluma ngalayo. Unamntwana ethi hey mina bengifuna ukuthenga amalembu amasofa. I can't imagine that. I feel like it's so unfair and oppressive. But
you're feeling it's unfair and oppressive to the men.
Yes, because
mama, this is what we're expecting. We're expecting them to be providers, and that is wrong.
Yes, in two ways, not Tina or mama per se, but the gender roles that patriarchy has set. Patriarchy tells us that the men must provide, and tells the women what right? So it's like you're not actually expected to do any heavy lifting, economically speaking, in a productive sense, because women largely are expected to be in the domestic space.
Okay.
So I say patriarchy is what's the system organizing all our lives.
Okay.
So in this organizing of our lives, we are told, umfazi kabe lapha, indoda kayibe lapha. Indoda nxa ilapha kayenze lokhu la lokhu la lokhu, umfazi kayenze lokhu la lokhu la. No one's really enjoying themselves.
Okay.
But there are others who are more advantaged than others.
Okay.
So in this sense, men would be more advantaged because indoda nxa ingekho, at home, he's not worrying ukuthi uzatshejwa ngani intambama. He's not worried ukuthi imganu gezisiwe yini, because he knows gender roles don't require him to care about those things.
So now the complication comes in, for example, when the culture is changing and women now have to go to the workspace and they feel they are empowered to provide also for this family. But then when they go to the workspace, the system still says, no, you can't do this kind of job. For example, awungeke drive igonyeti. Awungeke ube ngubuilder, awungeke ube, these jobs that, how do we reconcile that? Because I've seen it as well. There are still some jobs that women will tell themselves, mina ngeke ngihambe ngiyovuka among ama-builders, or I can't do this kind. But those are the jobs that are available. So how do you reconcile this feminist movement or ideology versus,
I also have questions for you. Sorry, just if when you're done with those.
Okay, that's fine. All right, that's a good question. But I think it goes to the issue of how we organize ourselves in a specific space. Right? You have industries where it says it's male-dominated sectors. In those male-dominated sectors, the way it's designed, the operation systems, everything is designed from the perspective of a man. So increasingly, it's so uncomfortable. They're uncomfortable spaces for women because they're not designed with women in mind. If you look at this brilliant feminist thinker, Utangu Danielle Kayembe. So she's more of a technologist, futurist. So one of the things she has done is to interrogate design, the mundane things about our lives and question them. So she wrote an article where she was looking at, for example, Ismoda and Zilama airbags for accidents, right? So she says, when airbags were first released, hundreds of women and children were injured or killed when they deployed because they were designed by male engineers, tested on other men. So that impact faced the strength, yes. It was not designed with a woman or a child in mind. So it killed so many of them. Then she says, there are certain doors where it's so difficult for women to open them because they were designed by a male engineer, gauging the strength of a man's arm, an average man's arm in opening a door. So those small design issues. So in those workspaces, even the way they are designed,
they're not for.
You're not gonna be comfortable. There's something about yourself that you need to adapt in order to fit in that space. So when it comes to issues like that, it's really about how do you get more women in those spaces to
the
influence.
Engineers.
Yes, in those spaces at an engineering level, and in those spaces at an operational level, and in those spaces at an institutional culture level. Because you can change everything else, but if the institutional culture remains the same, you just continue having the same kinds of barriers. And it's easy for men to miss it. Because we experience the world according to what we know.
What we have experienced.
Yes. So I think one of the reasons why feminism is so difficult for people to grasp is because it means different things to different people.
Yeah.
It's like a woman who lives in the North Pole will not dress like a woman or say Bridge. The climate they are in, it means how they interact with their environment is so different. Feminism is the same way, The issues that you encounter are what will inform your feminist position or stance. Yes. So if you're a Christian woman, your feminism is definitely different from somebody who's more interested in liberal feminism. Leonity, women, you own your bodies, have as many partners as you like.
This is where
can most I ask the questions before we get there?
Okay, please? Yes.
Because I think maybe before we go on, you mentioned it's a social movement. So I wanted to know what caused the social movement. Probably just to give a brief history so that we know where we are coming from. Was this social movement from Africa? Was it from the east, from the west? So ukuthi sizwisise kuhle kwakutheni. Because if we then know that, it becomes easy for us to reconcile it with where we are coming from as Africans, and in this particular case in the Matabeleland side of Zimbabwe. Okay, I have my thoughts and views concerning that. Maybe I can hear from you first. Wakutheni i-social movement le iziqalisa ukwenzela ukuthi labalaleleyo abazibuzayo ukuthi because abantu sebeyizonda i-feminism, but it's because of misunderstanding. Lama activists kumbe ngithi abayipracticeayo kabayizwisisi, and they've misrepresented it ebantwini to such an extent ukuthi abayizondayo who are of the opposite sex is because bayibone ngendlela epresentwe ngayo engayisiyo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mouthful from small.
Yeah,
Always
expected.
No, actually, I think, when I was invited to come into this talk, one of the things I told myself that I'm really going to avoid the academic side of it. Because, I was a feminist long before I knew that there's a word for how I feel.
Okay.
You know, so ngahlangana le word lokuthi feminist sengenza second year use it when I'm now doing literature around feminism. So I'll start there. Ukuthi mina, I believe you know, so much in social justice, and because I believe in that, when I interact with the world, the things I think are unfair, they instantly trigger me.
Okay.
You know, but why? So when I was growing up, I'd want to, I mean, it seemed so cool, but I couldn't because I'm a girl. So it really bugged me a lot. So you notice it because you're growing up in a certain space that's organized in a way that makes you feel like you are being excluded, like you don't have a choice, you don't have a voice.
Yeah.
But in feminism, you know, it began in waves, that social movement, from the Western side.
Okay.
This is Western feminism.
Yeah.
It was popularized when women were seeking the right to vote.
Yeah.
So it came, and then there were different waves. When they won the right to vote, they mobilized
to
around
another.
other issues.
Yeah.
So it's very
Yeah.
issue oriented.
Yeah.
So those waves then basically inform the ideology of those times.
Yeah.
Because the things that those women needed or cared about
Yeah.
evolve with time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you'll find what maybe when they'll argue with, okay, women need the right to work. You're lobbying for the right to work in the West. In Africa, we can't lobby for the right to work. We're working every day like donkeys all the time, unpaid work.
Yeah.
So that's not something we would be out toying for.
Yeah.
And then there's also the issue of our cultural values and norms, right? For some of us, we care about our cultural values and norms. That's how we self-identify. So I'm not going to go with a feminism that bashes my cultural values or norms.
Okay.
So
I like that.
So it's very much, I think for me, it's very much intuitive.
Yeah.
What is fair? What is unfair? I simplify it that way. So I do get to abantu. It puts them off. It unnerves them, and it's okay that it unnerves them, because when we're socialized a certain way, when we internalize certain values and beliefs, and then we're asked to question them, it's like you're personally attacking me.
Yeah.
Like if somebody came to me today and started asking me if my father is really my father, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Like, are you saying, so did my mother
Do something.
like you're saying a lot of things, because you're asking me to suddenly take everything I've known and believed and assume that it might be wrong. Therefore you mean there's something inherently wrong with me. But really there's a lot we can do to learn and unlearn.
Okay.
We can't always assume that the way things have always been done are the way they should always be done.
Okay.
You know, and I think even when we embrace our culture, there are certain elements of it that we may feel like, no, this is not right.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't, you know, advocate a culture. I mean, if we had female genital mutilation as vendeni, I wouldn't be like, I culture. I mean, no, I wouldn't. I would say, no, this is rubbish. I don't want that.
Okay.
And things like child marriage, or forced marriages, or wife inheritance. I wouldn't be comfortable with that. But there's a part of me that recognizes that maybe there's a woman out there who doesn't mind. In the family, let's get married.
Okay.
If that's her choice.
So what do you think has caused the misunderstanding of the meaning of feminism? Because banengi abangayizwisisiyo futhi kabayithandi, and they feel it causes more conflict than resolution. It's not resolution oriented. So kuqale ngaphi ukuthi kugcine ingani iyenza abanye bangahlaliseki?
I think it's because it's terrifying. You know, the idea, patriarchy gives power to men. They don't take it, they don't demand it. It's just theirs. It's called male privilege. They just have it. Right? So when you now try to introduce a system that says, let's have equality, what you're saying is that let's take away some of the power you have. Balance. And no one wants to lose power. You're saying, okay, let's have land redistribution. It's like, okay, I know what historically this land was not mine. My ancestors took it from yours, but I was not there. It's not my fault. I see anything. That sense of injustice on their part, but it's unfair for you to want me to share my inheritance with you.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. The power, the idea, you feel like, because it also has something to do with your identity as well as a man. Oh, okay, so was supposed to be partners, which one?
Yeah.
So that reorientation, I think if you look at, for example, cross-border trading, what it did for us at the worst periods of our economy, it shifted so many dynamics within households, right? And suddenly women were more breadwinners than men. Indoda maybe hambe quality pen you tell indlu se extend you. E pen the next day sofa. Yeah, and when that happens, even within the home, the kids, the balance of power shifts now. They know what but
that was what was wrong, because the power was associated with provision. Do you understand? Which is also part of what was misunderstood. Who said mothers long back did not choose to be providers, but still Ubaba remains the decision maker? Does being a provider mean then that you have to be the decision maker? Because feminism and it clashes with cultural values.
I have a question.
It clashes with Christian values. Yes.
When you say Guti Obaba remains a decision maker, from what I understand what feminism is all about. Lami as a young woman, I also want to be part of the decision making. And I think this is what feminism is all about. We all have equal access to opportunities. And Lami as a girl, as a young woman, I'm able to make decisions. Not just because umuntu ngubaba, then we're doing the decision making. Because you said even if a woman is a provider, Ubaba remains a decision maker. And I think feminism was also pushing they're also pushing to no. Ubaba should not be the only one who's a decision maker. It should be equal.
That's where the problem is, actually. You've just mentioned
that's
the problem.
That's what you are saying, Guti. It's more of a power
what I'm
struggle.
saying, what I'm saying, Sam, Guti, you are talking as a young woman. It's okay now, it works. But if you take that and put it in the home, it does not work. I will say Benzi. Because if you are both, what are you saying? You are both decision makers, you are at par. It doesn't. But it doesn't. Even in partnership, 60%, 40%, 10%, 90%. The minute you want it to be, the minute you want it to be 50%, you'll have trouble. And this is the cause of conflict. And what I'm saying is, even if you are the breadwinner, and he is the decision maker, it doesn't mean you're not the decision maker. You can make decisions together, but in a situation where there is a need for a final decision, he remains the final decision.
Why should he remain as the final decision maker?
Because I think in dismantling patriarchy and maybe trying to bring, introduce feminism, that's where we lost it. We still have to maintain our feminine side as the weaker sex.
But who said?
Guys,
okay, thank you. I've been listening to this debate. Can I come back to you, Delta, and ask this question? I hope you won't forget their questions in this broad argument. Okay. Did African women not have power despite patriarchy? Because my understanding is African women were actually very powerful and even more decision makers, though men take the credit for a lot of things that women actually do. But we allow them to take the credit. Does decision making mean you take the glory? If that's it, then no, I agree with you, let them take the glory. But the decision making will still be done by us all jointly.
It's more like you're feeding someone's ego. Kono kuthonkona ngoba ngubaba yena ngu decision maker, but when we know ukuthi mama ibaba ngama decision makers, it's more like we're stroking people's egos. I don't understand.
Okay,
Baba hamba wena nguwe.
All right, that's fine. Okay, was the first your question around women? Did we look far back enough in history? So we're very ahistorical, as Katina's name. History doesn't feature very much in the analysis that we generally pursue. In pre-colonial states, there's abundant evidence that women were very influential within their societies. Then with colonialism and everything, eventually these new roles and these new setups, became more prominent, where you then find that women increasingly are placed at the periphery of decision making. Even the norms and the structures and everything gets very dismantled from there. So pre-colonial states, yes. But then after colonialism and post-colonial, setups within our societies, you then find women are increasingly infantilized and they are really at the periphery. It's only fairly recently where you find constitutional amendments that recognize a woman is an adult in her own right. Gaso property gaso property endoda yakhe. And then to get to what Usmo was saying, I like that you mentioned our cultural values and this, but culture is dynamic, it's not static. And I think when it comes to romantic relationships especially, I think the two people in the relationship have to decide. You get to decide what you want to do. If I'm with my partner, then okay, but that's her choice. It's not because it's expected of her. And to me, that's so important. To be able to say, you live your life as you believe. And the choice is there. It's provided for you. You're not taking it up, that's fine. I know there's this common conception to, feminists, they look down on mama bahlezi endlini vele sure umama ungasebenziyo caregiving. That's not entirely true, because feminist economists were the first ones to start pushing to say we need to recognize the work that women do, that's unpaid labor, that was pegged at over 10 trillion when they were saying, okay, let's just quantify the value of the work that women have done globally. In the last year, it's worth 10 trillion. And you're not going to find male feminists breaking their backs to say, and velo mama nxa igezisa umntwana laphana aklini indlu ayincedisa lo anukhulu ugogo vele kungaba kuyimalini. But you recognize labor because it's actual work. You place actual value on it. Sometime in, I think it was 1975, women in Iceland were strike for a day. But you are not doing anything that women are supposed to do. Yes. We are not taking care of kids. We are not cleaning. We are not doing anything. It was called, I think, the Long Friday.
The Long Friday.
Yeah. Amadoda didika yonke indawo kwagcwala ama restaurant because they don't cook. Now the kids need to eat, and they took kids with them to work. It was just, but it was to say, look, you have to understand that what we're doing is work. And sometimes when you listen to men who don't respect their wives or the contributions that their wives make. All these years, because that happens. And that's why then you'll find, mama betu, they'll be like, no, mama la loku imali. Because there's always that understanding that even when with the best of intentions, you start off because you're in love. Everything is fine. He brings the paycheck. I nigga mama shame pocket money. And it's perfect. But over the years, people change. Relationships change. Stress has come and someone begins to feel resentful. Because if the bills are due and I'm the only one that's working, when uhlezi sure, I'm fees look. And with our economy, it's even worse. That's why you find suicide rates amongst men are so high. Because there's this expectation that it's all on you. Ngubaba phela. Sesiyachiba ngamatemba situmpita sithi kazilempuphi hlupha. So all these things are so compounded, especially for men, because they don't have the right to simply say, "I bagethi ngicela sincedisane." It seems like you're not being a man. How can a man suddenly check out? So patriarchy does that because it tells us that this is the template. And if you don't fit into this template, this is the yardstick. And if you can't reach it, there's something inherently wrong with you.
Yeah.
And we don't ask ourselves, Who set that yardstick?
Yeah. But also, what I would say is, as much as that is the yardstick and this is what was set, was it not working well? Was it not working well? It was. Because from my understanding of the feminist movement and how it started and where it came from, it was abuse. Oh, mama, we what's the word? Babe hlamuka, ngenxa yokuthi they were abused. And then that's why when you speak of feminism, gender activist, everything, you start talking of issues like gender-based violence. Uyabo ukuthi omama bahlukumeziwe, omama equal opportunities and all that stuff. Okwayenza umvukela wabomama ukuthi obaba, that system that had been created for them by abuse. Mina, if you would ask me the way I feel about the whole feminist movement, it was because ubaba wanikwe power, wase abuse ipower yakhe, which resulted umama ukuthi ayenze itajamuka. Why? No, seriously. And because if they had felt they are well taken care of and they are not being abused and they are I think it's beautiful to be female. I personally think it's beautiful to be taken care of. I don't mind staying at home looking after my kids.
But that's your choice.
Listen,
That's your choice.
we are speaking about this
choice.
from our personal lived experience.
Yes, but
yes, listen to what I'm saying because I'm not yet
but also
done.
give us
So what I'm
chance.
then saying is, I know I'm not the only one who feels like that. Ukuthi I wouldn't mind ngithengele Brazilian yama ngithengele whatever ngihlale ngimgcina abantwana la ngimgcine, but because of abuse now, because of he has abused his power and not done what he's supposed to do as that leader in the home, as that priest in the home, as that person that he's supposed to be, then this led from all the revolutions up to 1995 in Beijing. These were the issues that were brought forward. And if you trace all those issues, there was a form of abuse.
Okay, Sngo, thank you. Samge, you want to say something before I read messages that are coming in?
Sngo, Tikona, the system was working well. And in my head, I was thinking, so if the system was working well, then why did we feel like we needed this?
There was abuse. Did you get what I said? The system was okay.
Yeah,
there was nothing wrong.
Is this the system of patriarchy? We're saying the system of patriarchy was okay.
Mina izinto ezazihlelwe ngayo ngicace lezi zinto zazimi ngayo zakungasoze kwakungela problem. Because
how do we know?
The reason that we can trace where feminism began means there was a problem that was identified after First World War II and Second World War II.
It wasn't working.
It was working prior to that. It was working.
I think it's important to be clear. First of all, the whole concept of feminism as a terminology, it's very Western.
Yes.
But I'm not saying you'll have feminism as an ideology, or as a mindset that predates this terminology.
Exactly.
Okoko Betu would have been feminist without that label.
Exactly.
So it's just a label. So I'm not satisfied with saying I say I was
So you're saying women are always rebelling.
Yes. Because the conditions of
but I still approve.
I agree with you. It's not widely documented. But I'm saying, if we go into those communities and speak to our mothers and our grandmothers and their experiences from their own mothers and going oral tradition, because the system of patriarchy is a system whereby it's inherently unfair. And as a person, there is no way you can fail to intuitively know what is something is unfair.
Yes, thank you.
You may not know to call it patriarchy, you may not know to call it, but you know when something is just unfair. Not fair.
I remember, sorry, Pussy, like someone once asked me, Guti, like, are you a feminist? And because of what people say about feminism, at first I was like, no, I'm not. Then I thought about it, like what you're saying, Guti, it's more of fighting against injustices. And this is where feminism came from. Guti, women wanted the right to vote. They wanted to be regarded as equal citizens. So it's more of injustice, fighting against injustices that are happening. And when you say the abuse when women want to be taken care of, and when you are assuming that everyone wants the same thing, like you could think, I want to vote, I want to be found. Am I qualified to be a minister? I want to be the president of Zimbabwe one day as a woman. So when I want to be taken off, I want to technically weave. You are limiting and you're trivializing what feminism is all
I'm not
about.
trivializing anything.
Both of you are right.
I'm not trivializing anything. It's
about choice.
Stuff like that. It's about choice.
So you're both right.
But as much as kule choice sithole isystem in place akadingavumeli that choice.
Yes.
And mina what is news to me is you guys telling me ukuthi ogogo bethu labo khokho bethu felt ukuthi feminism ayingasebenzi ngoba yibo esithi nxa sisenda ngoba isystem abayitholayo that they lived in. Yibe sithi nxa sisiyakwenda abakutshela ukuthi hey indoda iyahlonitshwa, indoda iyaphekela, indoda. So for and mina that's what I know. As far as I know, if they didn't accept it,
they didn't want to rock the boat.
Okay, all the things you're saying are correct. Those are called values. They are patriarchal values.
Exactly.
Right? They are values that derive from a way of life, a way of being.
That word.
And not that it worked. It is what they knew. You know, when you're raising umntwana as a parent, raising a child is very anticipatory. You anticipate the world they will live in. You anticipate the skills they will need. You anticipate what they must know. So, Mina, I always like to say, I was raised more by my dad and his brothers. Because, you know, when a man's raising his daughter, he's not raising his daughter to be someone's wife. That's not the fourth thing in his mind. He's not raising his daughter to be somebody's mother. He's saying, this is a person. She must compete in the world. She must belong in the world. She must take up space in the world. By the time I hit my teenage years, it would have been impossible to convince me of my inferiority in any capacity. So I always got a lot of praise from my dad and my uncles for accomplishments that had nothing to do with domestic chores. But I live Rwanda.
So, Doc, tell me.
Can I read my message?
Okay, just something for her to be thinking about. Does her link patriarchy and a believer who's a Christian as after she? Yeah.
Okay, so after you gave your first presentation, this listener says, I like your viewpoint. What about Pareto's law? I don't know if you're familiar. I'm sure you are. How does it blend with feminism and the capitalist system? And then this one says, gender roles at work and at home are in our minds. Personally, I help my wife at home to get chores done. There's no societal expectation forcing me to act one way or the other. This is interesting. This is Ngabuto from Ngabuto Moyo. And I'm wondering, ukuthi nxa engathi lo nkosikazi wakhe akhuphe iwashing ayowacha phandla xa sukuchaya. Definitely, I know society will say, limbonile usalokhu zene wacha impahla umfazi wakhe kambe. Exactly. You know, and then omunye uthi msakazo njani uhlelo lolo liqhatheke kangaka lungo lwesintu kungani seluphethwe ngesilungu lona lolo oluphuma gadesi siyaxolisa bakithi siyazama kakhulu ukufaka isintu khona lapho. So ladies, how are you doing? So I'm trying to understand ukuthi now ladies want to redefine our culture in terms of changing roles. And you want equality and yet demanding that the playing field be adjusted to your advantage. In all honesty, we can never be equal.
Yeah.
Imagine men saying they now want to fall pregnant. Will it work? In the long run, we'll have over-empowered women and disempowered men. Give it 10 years. SK law.
Yeah.
Hi, ladies.
With you, SK.
Hi, ladies. Izinto ngendlela ezazisenzakala ngayo to omama was very unfair because uhlale engasebenzi endlini. What happens leyo ndoda ingafake? How will you and the kids survive? Because when ubusenzelwa everything, because when ubusenzelwa everything, I say as ladies we should be independent. So those are some of the comments. Please respond with those in mind.
Okay, all right. So I'll start with the one on Christianity and feminism.
Yes.
One of the things I like about the very idea of feminism is choice.
Yeah.
So if I choose to practice a religion, that places certain limits or expectations or guides my conduct, behavior, values, and faith in a certain direction, then that's perfectly fine, right? Because this is what I want to do.
Okay.
So the feminists should not then come and say, and oh, Mama Ves Christo is no, that's what you've chosen.
Okay.
So there's no way I can say, oh, you're being oppressed by a religion that you chose.
Okay.
You know, you were not shepherded into it.
Okay.
So that's one thing. The other thing is from a broader, maybe intellectual critique perspective. There are so many things that are problematic, I think, with some of the teachings of the church when they are embraced and adopted in a way that perpetuates the idea of women's inferiority.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you'll find Abantu would like to say, no, the Bible says submit, submit, submit. And it's true, the Bible says that. But it also says that the man is to love his wife the way Christ loved his church.
Mm-hmm.
And if a man loved his wife with that kind of love, it's so easy to submit because you're safe.
I agree.
Whatever this man is doing is in your best interest. You know, you don't feel any need to have your own back because you assume he's got your back. But because we're often selective, you know, about how we deploy religion, how we deploy culture, even how we deploy the law. You'll always find some loopholes. Because Zimbabweans are strange like that. Why a Christian country, a Christian country? Then,
But you seem to this
it's very selective. But it also has very major contradictions as well. So I think what's always central to me in expressing my feminism is the idea of choice. If you are making a conscious choice to live your life in a certain way, maybe you're making choices I wouldn't make, but really it's not a problem. That's perfectly fine.
I think this is where it comes in the issue to say when a patriarchy, when you want your man to take care of you and do things for you, it's perfectly okay. And I understand, I guess, now when a patriarchy was okay to that extent for you. But to me now, when I look back and think of my grandmother and my mother and the choices that I can make now and that I can allow my children to be empowered to make in future, for me, patriarchy was not okay. And it's okay that those people that decided to fight for our rights to where we are today did that. But like she is saying, it's a matter of choice. Sengifikile endlini yami nalo bhebhe labantu abethu. Sesidecide ukuthi hayi baba wena ngo ozakudecide. Mina, I will help you, and we're going to use the Christian way. It's our choice. And feminism has allowed that to happen by questioning patriarchy system. How can you just say every man everywhere? Lo makhelwane wami yakwanisa utshela indoda yami ukuthi kanti wena ungayekela umfazi senza so, yabo? Mina, my point is it has allowed us at least to decide in our own four walls
should it then be called feminism?
You can call it
whatever you want. Because like what you were saying, some of us have been feminists without the label. Because you're fighting.
So now I can proudly
say I'm a feminist.
Because I understand it.
But you really have to also explain what you mean by that.
Because it's really, I honestly genuinely feel it's been misunderstood, misconstrued, and misrepresented out there. So
Mina, when one of the things I did when navigating around my feminist identity, I default a lot to African feminists because I feel like feminism is something very contextual. So the preoccupations of a woman in the West would not be my preoccupations. So there's something called the African Feminist Charter. So it's the Charter of Feminist Principles. So these are African feminists. So I'll just read the preamble. So it says, on naming ourselves feminists, because it's such a thing. With a feminist, it means something. There's a value that's added to that. So it says, we define and name ourselves publicly as feminists because we celebrate our feminist identities and politics. We recognize that the work of fighting for women's rights is deeply political, and the process of naming is political too. Choosing to name ourselves feminists places us in a clear ideological position. By naming ourselves as feminists, we politicize the struggle for women's rights, we question the legitimacy of the structures that keep women subjugated, and we develop tools for transformatory analysis and action. We have multiple and varied identities as African feminists. We are African women when we live here in Africa, and even when we live elsewhere. Our focus is on the lives of African women on the continent. Our feminist identity is not qualified with ifs, buts, or howevers. We are feminists, full stop. So I think it's so important to look at the fact that feminism is also very political.
Yeah.
That's why you'll find what in the constitution making process you end up having a clause in section 17 that's pushed for to say we want to see 50-50 gender representation in all sectors of government, in decision making. There must be equal representation. Someone will say, no, women are now getting an advantage. What advantage? If we're saying let's be 50-50, who has an advantage? No one has an advantage, except that now it takes away something from those that already had the advantage. So obviously you're going to feel some kind of way. If you look at the affirmative action, for example, Kuma enrollment at my universities, we started affirmative action from AUZ 1995, like 24 years ago, right? And it really hasn't changed. It hasn't really transformed. Yeah, it hasn't really changed the scales that much.
Yeah.
So if you still look at the structures in the public sector, who's in charge, who's running what, you still find that predominantly men are still the decision makers. So it's not a given that just because there'll be a principle or there'll be a law or there'll be a policy that it will be implemented.
Yeah.
Oh, Delta, like I saw a tweet it's a woman actually feminists say men are this but at the same time they're sleeping with men, and I was like, what do we need to do to educate people on feminism so that, like what was saying, which is misunderstood, and some women sometimes they're fighting against injustices towards women. Can I say like I'm a feminist because Agula understanding and we have not clearly defined what feminism is all about. So what do you think we should do as women? Like we're now saying to a feminist, what do you think we should do to educate others so that feminism as if is out there trying to destroy destroy feminism? We're not trying to destroy feminism.
Yeah, because that's what's believed.
Yeah, because let me like you, I grew up with a dad who just said, like you can do more, you can excel, you can do better. Like you can do better, even better than a man. So but we're not trying to destroy feminism. What do we need to do? Because I'm interested in that, like sensing.
Okay, that's interesting. I think, someone once said if feminism is like religion, you have to convert people. So you preach the gospel. But I wouldn't really approach it in that sense. I think for me, it's a question of why. Why is there that stigma? I think when you are confronting a system and it feels threatened, it fights back. And the most effective way to fight back is propaganda. You just say, hey, feminism, and you don't even need to back it up. The moment you say that, it sticks. And they don't want to have children. In fact, they are lesbians. So you create these narratives, and narratives are so powerful because they stick and they last for so long. And then you create a label that no one wants to be associated with. It's called, there's a concept called respectability politics, where you're under pressure to be respectable. Even if you're not happy with something, you have to say it in a respectful way.
Diplomatic.
Because if you're angry now you're that feminist.
But that's for conflict resolution.
But even outside of conflict resolution, one of the interesting things, for example, in our illegal system here, there's always been the push, can we do something about our family law courts?
Yeah.
Right. Because the current legal options are corner, especially within the formal justice system, they're so adversarial. And women don't typically like adversarial. What it says divorce. No, they'd rather have, can we have a family court where we actually sit down, arbitration, maybe so all these things are things that would be engaged with, because feminists recognize that, to say no, there's something wrong with this justice system. It presumes women, that's not, women generally are not wired that way. You're not trying to tear the fabric of your family, to pieces. But even our divorce system right now, it's so militant, aggressive.
It's very aggressive.
It'll make.
But it's ingrained in the brains of people. And I think I'm not racist, but the problem is with us blacks. No, I'm serious. Because what you're advocating for is actually comes naturally in the West. That's why sometimes I'm tempted to then say some of these things we adopt
What
without...
do you mean, what comes naturally in the West? Sorry, I'm not-
ifamily lokhu zenena liyakhuluma ngayo ukuthi indoda yakwanisa ukubuya nje ifike ithi khona angisakufuni lo mfazi bavumelane, we've lost interest in each other, sebevumelana ngabantwana.
But then the legal system, didn't it come from the West?
No, but listen to what I'm saying. But they can have what she's saying, arbitration, kuphele, and akula animosity, and there's no one fighting. Bring it here. Do you understand what I mean? Bring it here.
Anyway,
they are
we've
throwing
run out
each
of
other
time,
and news
so
on newspapers.
I would want to argue with that, which in the West is acceptable. Ngapha is not. I would want to argue that, but I don't have the time. Thank you so much. I was going to read an extra message. I think feminism should not be wholesome, should be applied to various life points differently. In sexuality, family roles, it struggles, but at work, yes, it works. Men who are against feminism are guilty of something. Well,
Thank you.
This has been a long topic, wide range, very broad, and it continues. Unfortunately, Delta won't be there next week to help us focus, and you've been such an eye-opener. Thank you so much for your time, because today I leave saying, okay, yes, I'm a feminist, I can say that, because now I understand what it means. What I need to define is what kind I am, but I know I'm fighting for the justice of women. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. It's 1 o'clock, and soon time for the news.